light rail transit, monorail capped at $1.5 billion, so it was a bad idea per the light rail transit system. Light rail is just as competitive in the market as Republicans are against the Democrats, slamming alternative forms any way they can. What they wanted to do, per Douglas B. MacDonald, who used to be our Secretary of Transportation here in Washington State, was even a commissioner back east, according to an article from him dated 6/22/08, right before the crash at crosscuts.com, he broke it down. He said, look, as former Secretary of Transportation, this is how it's going. You're taking the taxes from others. What light rail wants to do is steal current tax dollars, doesn't matter if it's from education, from health care, or whatever, and apply it to them. King County, they wanted 0.9% from King County, 0.9% from Snohomish County, 0.6% from Pierce County, and Sound Transit wanted 0.4%, which apparently came out to $280 million, mind you. So that's a whole hunk of money. And effectively, what it would do is actually make it so that King and Snohomish County, 30% of their tax dollars, their retail tax dollars, were going to be heading to light rail. 40% of Pierce County were targeted to light rail. And then they wanted to add a rental car fee tax, bringing up another $2.5 million projected money, and then a motor vehicle excise tax, MVET, for another increase of 0.3%, which they felt would add another $72 million. So they were looking at a minimum of $354.5 million per year in annual tax increases to the state of Washington, being this a state example, and a very good state example, to the taxpayers. They wanted to slam the taxpayers with this, effectively bringing their taxes to 9.2 to 9.3% on everything they purchase at a retail level, depending on where they lived. These are 2007 numbers. Now look at the contrast between the Democrats and Republicans. Mayor Nichols, who our press praises right along with Christine Gregoire, he wanted $2 billion for 6.3 miles of light rail. At one time, he was actually pushing over $50 billion. If I remember, he had this great, glorious plan that was going to go with the state or something like that. Maybe it was 50 years to pay it off. At any rate, light rail transit. Under Greg Nichols, the Democrats program, this mayor that everybody praises, that was in the biggest political pigs of all time so far, $317,460,300 per mile of light rail. See, we can't have that budget. No, can't have that capped to the taxpayers, because what you're doing is ripping off the people, Mr. President. Seattle to Bellevue, heading into Republican country, $2.1 billion for 12 miles right across the water, very difficult terrain. $175 million per mile. Interesting. Panama Canal was a lot less. Anyway, $600 million, you're giving us a one-time whack. They want this every year thereafter. And you're giving us a little drop in the bucket that supposedly creates 6,000 jobs, which I found interesting, because if you take the $6 million that you gave to a non-existent district here in Washington State, and you multiplied it by 100 to make it $600 million, you created 7,700 there. How is that? And those jobs were for $42 an hour. How is it that for $2.2 billion you can only create 1,400? Now I understand that's Hanford. I understand. But you're still, there's no accountability. Let's get on this. I can get this done within one segment. 600 million, 100 million per mile only equals 6 miles. My son looked it up for me. 144 miles from Seattle to Portland, thereabouts. So take 6 miles out. You got about 138 miles to go. Your whole 600 million, 6,000 supposed jobs. How long did they last? They lasted 6 miles of road. How long is it going to take to build that road up here? You never know. Especially since Christine Gregoire outsources to out of the state. 138 miles to go at $13.8 billion cost in 2007 dollars to the Washington State taxpayer. The slight that you never told them about. Well, I'm going to give you $600 million. You just got to cough up $13.8 billion more. And we both know that's a lie, because at $175 million on Republican numbers, we're coming out at $24.1 billion in an increase to the taxes to the Washington State people through retail, whatever else, and of course, while cutting budgets of other people. Cutting budgets to the seniors, cutting budgets to the kids. You know, you're real dogs. You really are. You're dogs. And if you were to put this at a Democrat number, you might increase that to $40 billion. Hey, there comes that Greg Nichols $50 billion, huh? $40 billion to the state of Washington taxpayers. And this is indicative of every state. I'm actually watching the hearings in between while I'm writing this stuff down. And what I'm seeing there is, Secretary LaHood, what I'm seeing there is that you didn't tell the American people in your State of the Union address about matching funds. You didn't tell them. Right now, what you're doing is you're disenfranchising seniors and kids. You're standing out there waiting for the bus. The bus just drives right by him after 2 hours. This lady walked out here in a walker. The kid's, 10 years old in the hood, trying to catch a city bus. He can't do it because in order to cram light rail down their throat, you purposely decrease the bus lines. So now you leave them in the pouring down rain with nothing. They're late for school. They're late for their doctor's appointments and everything else. And you're actually charging more for the light rail. The prices for light rail, whoa. Talk about ballsy. Talk about ballsy. You're not giving straight numbers. You're lying. You're lying to the people. And if you call $600 million to $24.15 billion matching, you borrowed the $600 million from us in the first place, and now you're going to borrow another $24 billion through a proxy called the state government and the state Democrats. You're not giving straight numbers. Dino Rossi pointed out, as he ran against Governor Gregoire, that she's a total liar. We supposedly had $3 billion surplus. He said the day she gets elected, she's going to turn around and slam the people with a $4 billion debt, making $7 billion overnight disappear. And you know what? She did. She did. The next year, we heard that the deficit was now going to soar clear to 11, maybe even $15 billion. Not counting this. This year, we heard it's maybe $2.6 billion. We're not really sure. That's what the whole point of TAP is. We can reduce its debt. There's no denying that this system's needed. But you need to bring back the bus lines, just like this system is good for running to Portland, to Seattle, to Spokane, to LA, to Vegas. The bus lines are good for running downtown real quick, for being able to go outside your door for the little old lady and catch her thing, for the disabled person in a wheelchair, for the poor guy that has a prosthetic because he fought in the war, got his leg blown off so that some company could make some money. In TAP, we audit. We find the political pigs, and we throw them in the pen. So, Mr. President, quit lying to yourself, quit lying to the people. This is going to happen. It's going to happen in Ohio. It's going to happen in Indiana, California, Oregon, certainly here in Washington. Everybody that's going to get some light rail money is going to get screwed by their Democratic Party.